Welcome to the Lumen Stock Car Invitational Season number 4 for the first points race of the season here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. This is going to be an exciting one for sure. Last year, the season opener was at Oregon, but it's now back to the track where it was at in the first 2 seasons, the Atlanta Motor Speedway. 1.54 mile kind of not a super speedway, but it kind of races like one despite the changes that we've made to the package this year. I am joined alongside Darian Arnsdorf, the local Georgian native. And Darian, I know you're always excited to call this race. What are you expecting here ahead of today's race? Because we actually have the speedway chassis on these cars, but that doesn't mean the draft won't be an important part of this race.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, Brennan. As you said, I'm from Georgia, but I've only been to Atlanta Motor Speedway once in my life. But calling these races, it's always so much fun being in my home state. It's going to be a very interesting race for sure. I really don't know how big the changes will make to this race. I think it will be very, very important, the draft still, but I really don't know if it's going to race all that differently from, say, how we come to expect Atlanta to be in recent years, where it's like big plate racing, 2 lines of cars going side by side through the entire field. I do think we'll see a bit more single file, a bit more stuff like that, but it will definitely be very interesting and more similar to a track like Daytona Talladega we'll see later in the season.
Yeah, and there are a few, like I mentioned, there's a few changes made not just to the package, but to the track as well. The speedway package on it. We will have a pit stop in this race, which we did not have last year. And also, we've added some more grip to the bottom lane in turns 1 and 2. If you remember last year's race, that top lane was very strong going through that particular part of the track, but there's more grip on the bottom now, so we should see more dynamic passing compared to last year's race, and that could shake things up as well. But yeah, that's enough about the changes to the package. Let's talk about the changes to the field as well. We've got a lot of drivers in new rides this season. And Darian, I'm going to ask you one more question. What new team/driver pairing is really standing out to you the most that could make a lot of noise this year?
See, you know me, Brennan, so obviously one of the people I'm going to point out is George Bryan. Driving the 3 car this year, he was in his own car last year, the 01. That's now with the team Patriot Motorsports, I believe it is, right? So it's not running full time. It's a part-time car, the 01, but Brian running in the 3 car this year, starting in 14th here today. That's what pairing I'm very excited for this season. Another pairing I'm very excited for, the 19 with Jake Sidney. That team last year, the last race we called last year, Auto Club 2A, Sidney came through at the very end to win in very impressive fashion. So I'm very excited to see what Sidney can do this year in that 19 car for Hudson Motorsports.
Those are definitely a couple of good options, but we have plenty of other changes in the field, which we'll go over here in the starting lineup. On pole today is a familiar face and a familiar paint scheme, though. It's the 16 of Corbin Taps, entering his sophomore year. Did not win Rookie of the Year last year, but he was very impressive. He won the last drafting style track we went to at Talladega, and he's starting on pole once again here. He actually has also a dual win under his belt from last year and also an amateur series win at Daytona. So to say that he's good at these kinds of tracks is a bit of an understatement. Starting on the front row alongside him is the 27. This is Adrienne Thurston in this car. And yes, she is running the whole season. Last year, she was on a part-time basis for Blake Everett Motorsports, almost won multiple times. And now she's going to be a teammate alongside JT Boyd, still looking for that ever elusive first career win. In row number 2, we have the number 8 of Darren Walker, familiar driver, familiar team in different colors this year. Alongside him is an interesting case here. This is the 01. This is a Patriot Racing Inc. entry, and it is driven by Isabella Fitzmaurice. It will be running at Daytona and Talladega as well. This car is very quick. Patriot Racing is very quick on these kinds of tracks, and Isabella Fitzmaurice is also very quick on these kinds of tracks. This could be a very powerful combination, and she's already kind of proving it as she's starting third on the grid. She's also going to be in the amateur race tomorrow at this very same racetrack. Row number 3, you've got the 81 of Jack Gino. We went over Jack Gino in the Clash a couple weeks ago, but he is now at Hudson Motorsports. Alongside him is the 36 of Ashley Blake, still driving for her own team, Blake Everett Motorsports. Co-jointly owned with Shauna Everett, who won 2 weeks ago in the Clash in dominating fashion. So look out for this 36 car to make some noise here today, especially since she's starting in the top 10. Row number 4, it's the 18 of Zach Dearman, who is now he was at Hudson Motorsports last year. He's got some new sponsors on that car, but Dearman was pretty good last year. He won at South Boston, and he is now paired with former teammate at Diamond Motorsports, Jack Gino. And alongside him is the 62 of Vinny Scholl, starting in the top 10 for Pacific Racing. Mercedes Washington is in the 52 this week, and she got the car into the field and is starting top 10, so very impressive stuff out of the Amateur Series driver. And alongside her is the 39 of Laken Herndon. Row number 6 is the 79 of Kobe Hollenbeck and the 45 of James Harvin, the defending, or I guess not defending because he's moved up, but last year's Amateur Series champion, and he basically led the points for almost the whole season. So, he said the Amateur Series was easy, but then Jake Sidney gave him a scare at the end of that season, and he took back his words. But he's got a whole new challenge now up in the Cup Series, driving full-time for Motor Racing Ventures. Then we've got the 3 of George Bryan, someone Darian called out. He's in a very strong car, and he was a very strong driver last year. This could be a very good pairing as well. Alongside him is the 92 of Kate Summers. Then it's the 6 car of Holly Martin, alongside the 40 of Adrian Wheeler, who we went over a couple weeks ago as well. Tyler Landry in the 66, alongside Charlie McCarron in the 85. And then it's the 41 of Karina Willis Calloway and the 11 car of Tim Berry, who is being pegged as the favorite to win the championship by many. Then it's the 70 of Andrew Kreider alongside the 50 of Jacob Lopez. The 5, this is Ellie Adams in the car this week. And she's going to be running a few races for this race team. She's no longer driving in the Amateur Series, so these are her only races scheduled of the season. Then you got the 58 of Joanna Clark, who did I think she did pretty well in the Clash despite her underpowered car. There's the 42. This is Lulu Connie. This car will run. It's scheduled to run all the races, and it's going to be split evenly between Lulu and Kaleo this year. So we'll get to see Kaleo a little bit more often this season. But Lulu relegated now to a part-time effort. This team is going under some financial strain, so hoping that it turns around for them here soon, and maybe a good result could help that. Alongside them is the 99 car of Akiya Tajima in the Mobile 1 colors. Tamarin Ballinger in the 65. One of the new things this season is that the former bump practice session is now straight up a bump qualifying session. And so all of these, this order was set by qualifying that just happened a little bit ago. And we had some drama for the Diamond Motorsports cars. Tamarin Ballinger looked like they were about to miss the show. But then with 3 minutes left, they and the 58 of Joanna Clark both came into pit. Bellinger then left the pits, and the 58 was timed to leave the pits exactly 1 lap after to line up in front of the 65, and she gave the 65 enough of a draft to just sneak into the race. So it was some impressive teamwork by the Diamond Motorsports cars. They're going to need some more of that teamwork here in this race. And alongside the 65 is another Honda, the 24 of Cooper Spur. He's been running Chevys the last 3 seasons, but he switched to Honda this year, hoping for a boost in performance for that team. JB Chanot, another driver who just snuck into the field in the 29 car. And alongside her is the 19 of Jake Sidney, Rookie of the Year contender. Another driver that Darian pointed out, but he's going to have some work to do if he wants to get up and contend for the win today. And then we got your 5 drivers that got in on points provisionals. Billy Smith in the 88 and the 57 of Shauna Everett. Both of your top 2 in points from last year. JT Boyd in the 77 and the 1 car of that's not Jacob Lopez. That's Kevin DuPont. Lopez drove the 1 last year. And rounding out the field, we got the 9 car of Lori Jackson. We had 5 D&Qs for this race, the most notable of which was Michael Harvin, James Harvin's older brother in the 55. Also was going to be a teammate for him. The 35 of Rebecca Raymond for Checkered Flag Racing, the 2 of Martin Swain driving for his own team, the 13 of Damon Kirby, another notable driver, one of the Rookie of the Year contenders, is going to have to sit out of this race, and the 33 Double Eagle Racing entry driven by Sophia Miller-Lee. It's going to be a 65 lap race here today. 2 pit stops, or no, 1 pit stop here today. It should be just at halfway. They're going to be splitting this race in half. And it'll be interesting to see. We might get cautions, we might not. We'll see. Weather conditions are very cool at the track and also very windy, so that could definitely upset the cars and cause some issues. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Last year was a pretty clean race, aside from the one crash near the start. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see if these guys can keep it clean. We'll see if we see that green flag cycle. And we'll see who is going to come out on top here at Atlanta.
Drivers, start your engines!
And the pace car will roll off on the back straightaway here at Atlanta. And Darian, you know what I'm going to ask you. Who do you think's going to win here at Atlanta?
Oh man, this is such a tough question at these types of tracks. You never really know who will be a contender until the very end, but I'm gonna go a bit different from my usual picks because I think 3 times last year I picked George Bryan to win. This time around, I'm actually gonna go to the driver starting in 13th place. I'm going with the 92, Kate Summers, to pull off an upset win today here in Atlanta.
Kate Summers, a 3-time winner in the Cup Series, but I don't think she's won. Well, she won at Texas, which is a 1.5 miles, but obviously a very different racing 1.5 miles. But yeah, we'll see if the 92 can bring it home here today. 16 of Corbin Taps, 27 of Adrian Fearson will be on the front row. We are Green Flag Racing in the first race of the LSCI Season 4. Coming out of turn number 4, Isabella Fitzmaurice with a head of steam on the inside in the 01 car. She's going to lead lap number 1. Just going to take it away there from Corbin Taps. She got a big shove from Jack Gino in the 81. The inside line is already proving to be much more powerful than it was last year. But we might see some changing conditions here later in the race. Gino's going to try and send it 3 wide already. It's lap number 2, and we're already going 3 wide for the lead. Going through turns 3 and 4. Looks like Tap's going to get the run up top and hang on to the lead for now.
I don't know why we're going 3 wide on turn 2 or turn 3 lap 2. I don't know if I agree with that, but Corbin Taps seems to agree with it. He takes the lead back from Fitzmaurice, is now side by side. Pretty much the entire field behind Jack Gino on the inside. He'll move up to second place, and Vinny Scholes in the 62 right behind Gino, getting a push as they head up to turn 3. Then Lakin Herndon right behind Scholes. Very interesting start to this race so far as we're on lap number 3.
Got a line of Toyotas down on the inside behind the Ford of Jack Gino. You got Vinny Scholes, Lakin Herndon, Kobe Hollenbeck, and the 92 of Kate Summers. Hollenbeck's now going to get shuffled up to the middle lane, and he's going to be all alone in there. That's not a place where you want to be. There is a gap on the outside for him to fall into, and that looks like that's where he's going to go. But Corbin Taps is clear of the field right now, and it's side by side for second behind as Fearson is shoving the 81 of Jack Gino. Fitzmaurice up on the top side. The 8 and the 36 are going to check up on the outside. That's going to be big for the 27 and 62. Try and passing them on the inside lane. There's more momentum down there right now, but Taps has been doing a good job of getting that run off the top, which is still very powerful off of turn 2. Not as powerful as it was before, but you definitely still make use of it, as you can see Fitzmaurice doing, to try and keep even with the 81.
Yeah, side by side right now for second with Fitzmaurice and Gino, and now Gino finally will get clear of the 0-1 and move in the second place fully. Now he'll have a chance to go chase after Corbin Taps. Now here comes Vinny Scholes in the 62. Big run for her in that car as she's pushed by the 36 of Ashley Blake.
81.
And now Gino right behind Corbin Taps might look for the lead here as they come around turn 3 and 4, coming to start lap number 7 of 65 here at Atlanta.
Jack Gino's got some momentum down on the inside. He's gonna get even with the 16 of Corbin Taps. We'll see if he's able to roll the bottom through 1 and 2, which was impossible here last year. It looks like Taps will get a better run, but here comes the 62 and 36 with a head of steam. They caught to the back of the 81, and they're going to try and find a way around. Vinny Scholes has run all 69 of the LSCI races that have been run. This is race number 69. She has never won here in the Lumen Stock Car Invitational. She and Charlie McCarron are the only two drivers that have accomplished that feat, but at least Charlie McCarron's won a couple of exhibition races. Vinny Scholes has won nothing. She's going to try and change that here this season, but Ashley Blake is another driver who hasn't won. Well, she's won before, but she hasn't won in a while. She'd love to open up the season with 2 straight wins for her own team, try and stick it to Checkered Flag Racing, who had a very bad qualifying run here today as 2 of their cars missed the field. And there you see the pass for the lead there. Jack Gino is going to take the lead over Corbin Taps, but Taps is fighting back on the outside.
Yeah, easy move for Taps to just ride the outside. Not really any threat to Corbin Taps so far is Jack Gino. You need to try and get to the outside of him, but even then, I don't think Taps is very keen on letting up that outside line. Like, it's just very difficult, as I think 3 wide right behind him. That's Fearson, Scholes, and Blake, and now Herndon down the inside trying to get a run.
That's 2 rows of 3 wide, and the Pacific Racing teammates are stuck in the middle. But look at the run the 79 of Kobe Hollenbeck got kind of out of nowhere. He now has a chance to challenge Corbin Taps for the lead. But it doesn't look like he has enough momentum yet, but he's going to try and get the inside to work in 3 and 4. The inside's definitely very viable in 3 and 4, as we've seen Jack Gino prove earlier. And it looks like Hollenbeck might lead the lap. He just barely does it. But it's a matter of if he can...
I thought the 36 and 81 were about to get into each other there, sorry. They were very close to wrecking each other off of turn 4 there, as Hollenbeck now takes the lead.
Yeah, but all the help's up top with Corbin Taps, though. The 81 and the 36, I think they're going to abandon him up on the top side, though. And they're going to go with Kobe Hollenbeck, and Corbin Taps is now plummeting on the outside lane. Here comes Gino, still trying to get the lead. Got the push from the fellow Ford, Ashley Blake, who had a terrible season last year, trying to start off on the right foot this year. Isabella Fitzmaurice and Vinny Scholes also down there on the inside. Hollenbeck riding the momentum on the outside, but there's still more help down low. We'll see if the 79 can clear into 3 and 4. It looks like he might, but they're still going to try something going through 3 and 4. I think the 79's going to hold on the lead now. They're 3 wide for second. It's been getting dicey at the front, but they've been pretty clean. This was about when they wrecked last year, though, so you got to be careful. But also, they were a lot more packed up last year. That is definitely something... That's a big difference that's standing out to me. This is not quite like a full-on pack race like Daytona and Talladega, but they're definitely still in these pack-like groups.
Most definitely. It's a very interesting combination we have here. It's very similar to something like Texas, where it's kind of strung out for the most part, and yet, like we mentioned earlier, Daytona and Talladega, it's very similar to both of those tracks in that way. It's very fun to see how it's playing out so far as Jack Gino takes the lead. And you know what I mentioned earlier about Corbin Taps needing to stay on that outside? Well, I guess that just didn't matter, and you can add another one to the counter of how many times Darren Arnsdorf is wrong immediately. Hollenbeck now right back to the lead on the outside. As you see Corbin Taps here up in 5th.
That was close with Fitzmaurice and Blake. They got really close there. Blake had to check up. She's going to lose a ton of positions on the outside.
Yeah, that. Like I said, I was very worried earlier with Gino and Blake. It's been very dicey coming off of turn 4. I don't know if it's just been me that's noticing that, but it's definitely been very worrying, to say the least. I wouldn't be surprised if we do maybe get a caution before this one ends up, as we're coming up to 50 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
One other thing that's affecting this race is the weather. It's pretty cool out there. It's 52 degrees, very cold on the racetrack. It's about the temperature that it was at Oregon last year. in the season opener. However, there's a lot more wind. They're getting a huge 18-mile-per-hour tailwind going down the back, and I'm wondering if maybe that's affecting the cars in 3 and 4, maybe upsetting them a little bit, because we've gotten some cars that have gotten pretty close to hitting the wall there. And the 81 and 79 continue to swap the lead back and forth. Corbin Taps in third, trying to close in. Fitzmaurice and Blake rounding out your top 5. And all the help's up top right here. Taps might try to force it through the middle. I would not advise to that, and it looks like Taps is smart enough to not try that. And all that help up on the top side off of turn 2 is going to help the 79 and hurt the 81, and now Taps is going to move up to second and maybe going to try and make a move for the lead off of 4, but he's going to stay tucked in behind the Columbia Motorsports Toyota.
Yeah, I'm just now seeing something as we come across the line here to start lap 18. Look, is up to 8th place now, Tim Berry. Started in 20th place in that 11 car, so a very good start to this race for the 11 of Berry. As you can also see Charlie McCarron up here ahead of Darren Walker. I think that's the first time today McCarron's been ahead of their teammate. As we got a lot of side-by-side up front, Ashley Blake will go past the 0-1 of Fitzmaurice, or at least is trying to. And it seems like she will do that, as now we have a battle for the lead of Hollenbeck and Taps.
Corbin Taps is going to rocket by the 79 on the inside in 1 and 2. The 79 will have more help off the corner, though, and he's going to pull back even with him. But that 16 is very strong. As we already saw earlier in the race, he won the pole, and that was a group qualifying session, not a single car one, so we know he's very fast. In the draft specifically, the 79 got upset off of turn number 4, held up the 81. Here comes Blake and Fearson to the inside, going to try and take second and third. McCarron and Scholes also trying to take advantage of that. But it looks like only Taps is going to end up getting by the 79 in all of that, even though Blake got very close there. I am very impressed by the speed from this 36 car. And, it's kind of continuing that momentum that Shauna Everett started back in the Clash, although Everett is not running the best right now. But she had to start in the back. She had to take a points provisional to even get into the race. So, yeah, but Blake has been very fast here today, and she could be looking at a very good run here today.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ashley Blake has been honestly really, really fast today. It's been rather shocking, I believe, because I don't recall that 36 car being all that quick last year, and now this season, that team has just absolutely turned it up. And I'm loving it. I love seeing the owner drivers do well. It's part of the reason why I was such a big fan of George Bryan last year. As now battle for the lead, here comes Hollenbeck trying to take back the lead from Corbin Taps. Ashley Blake and Jack Gino side by side for third, as we have a lot of battles going on here in the top 5 for position.
Taps is going to rocket back to the lead using that outside lane. The 81, the 01, and the 11 all lined up on the top side. Tim Berry up to 6th after that 20th starting position, and everybody's been pointing out just how fast Tim Berry is. He dominated last season in the points, but mechanical failures were his undoing, and his loss in the championship to Kevin DuPont. And he's going to be racing with a chip on his shoulder this season, knowing that he had the pace to win the championship, but not the luck. And we've already seen what kind of things he can do here. Oh, they're stacking up on the outside.
Oh,
the 01.
No.
Oh, she got
I don't
sideways.
appreciate that.
She got sideways off the corner. Oh, my goodness.
I really don't appreciate how many times these drivers try to give me a heart attack whenever I'm commentating a race.
They're going to keep it clean so far. We've made it through 24 laps without an incident, although we've definitely gotten close, especially off of turn 4. But, these guys are not forcing it 4 wide like they did last year, which was what caused the accident last year. They're a lot more spread out than they were before. Here's the 45 of James Harbin. I believe he's not quite top 10, but he's almost there. This is, this guy is the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year, as he won the Amateur Series title last year in pretty, convincing until the last couple of races fashion. But, he's been doing pretty good so far today. He started about mid-pack, and he's made his way up to the outskirts of the top 10. And once again, the 16 and 79 are side by side, and Taps will take the lead in the tri-oval.
40 laps to go now here at Atlanta as Corbin Taps takes the lead. And I want to mention who's now up into 5th place. Andrew Kreider. Started in 22nd here today. Made up 17 spots so far in only 25 laps. So an incredible run for that 70 team and Andrew Kreider.
I didn't even notice him until you pointed him out. That was another close moment between him and Jack Gino.
For lead, Ashley Blake.
16 and 36 have pushed their way past the 79, and now Blake's going to try and go after the lead herself. Going to try and roll the inside lane here, but Tabs has been so good on the outside that I just don't think that's going to work out. And in fact, the 79 is going to go alongside her as well. Andrew Kreider, you know, he's been impressive in this race so far. He's just kind of showed up here in the top 5, doing a great job in that cell-phoned Streamline Racing Ford. He's going to pass the 81 for 4th as the 81 got squirrely off the corner, and they're going to stack up behind. Another thing to watch out for, it's lap number 28. We're approaching halfway, and I expect them to pit right at halfway. So, we'll start seeing these guys peeling into the pits here soon. Andrew Kreider now going for 3rd. And that 70 car is absolutely flying through the field. He might be a contender for this win today.
That 70 is shockingly fast here in the long run. That may be one. He only qualified in 22nd place. That car might just be perfectly set up to go as deep into the run as possible, as now Blake back to the inside. Hollenbeck on the inside of Taps for lead side by side for 1st and 3rd. As we see Vinny Scholes in 5th, wanting to capitalize. Hollenbeck will take the lead here for now. I don't think he'll be able to clear, though. Corbin Taps on that outside line with a big run down the back straightaway. And like you mentioned, pit stops coming. It could be lap 32, 33. It'll be very interesting to see when these guys come in and if it can maybe cause a bit of fuel mileage at the end.
Andrew Kreider's up to 2nd now. He just blew by Corbin Taps. He's looking low on the 79 of Kobe Hollenbeck, trying to take the lead. Doesn't have the draft to do it yet, but this 70 car is very, very fast, and we got to be looking out for him after this pit cycle is over. It should be about 2 laps from now when we'll start to see the cars peel in. James Harvin has gained spots. He's now up into 8th. Adrian Fearson has fallen back outside the top. Oh my goodness gracious. Zach Dearman and Jacob Lopez had a moment off of turn 4. They're getting very close to hooking each other off that corner, but somehow it hasn't happened yet. So that's very impressive by these guys to keep it together. As for the race lead, Kreider down low with Vinny Scholes, but Taps and Hollenbeck, who I believe have been the 2 fastest cars today, making that outside work once again off of turn 2, and they're going to continue to pull away through 3 and 4.
Watch Taps here down the front straightaway. I thought he would make a move, but it looks like he's backing off a little bit, maybe trying to get a bit better of a slipstream off the 79. As we see Scholes and Kreider, they're going to go side by side for 3rd. Jack Gino, Ashley Blake going side by side for 5th place as well. You see Tim Berry up here as well in that 11 car. Very quiet but very quick as that Monster Energy 11 of Tim Berry. As now the top 3 under a blanket. As I head through turns 3 and 4, we are on lap 32. It could be pit stops at any moment now for these guys in the front.
Corbin Taps is going to take the lead away from the 79 of Hollenbeck. Kreider is going to follow suit behind, checking to see if anyone came into the pits. They're 3 wide in the back. Mercedes Washington, unfortunately not capitalizing on the good qualifying run, has fallen to the back. But, you know, maybe that car had quality setup on it to try and get into the race, but who knows. Either way, we should be seeing pit stops here at any moment. 16 and 79 kind of pulling out to the front here. Then you got the Fords. Well, they were working together, but now the 36 is going to try and pass Andrew Kreider. Hollenbeck going to try and pass the 16. The back and forth between these two has been so entertaining to watch here in this first run. And as you can see, the inside's actually starting to rubber in here, and you're seeing them able to make the inside work a little bit more as the race goes on, and we're going to see that especially in the second run as well. Very interesting track dynamics going on here at Atlanta. I believe, yep, the 79 and 36 are going to come in this time, and we'll see if anyone else goes with them. They look pretty lonely down there, but we might see, nope, it's just them.
Wow. I don't know if I like that. Only 2 cars pitting on lap 34, now 35 of 65. That's a dangerous spot to be if you're Hollenbeck and Blake, I believe.
Here comes the 70 of Kreider, looking low on the 16. Looks like the 16 might be thinking about pitting this time as well. Oh, the 70 ends up staying out after all of that, and he got slowed down tremendously by that. Here comes Charlie McCarron
Oh,
flying
goodness.
by him on the outside, and that is going to be a killer for Andrew Kreider. He's going to lose lots of positions after that. Cars in front of him trying to pit. He was on the inside, and the cars that were trying to pit were on the outside, and that swap really slowed him down. And that's unfortunate for the 70
Yeah,
car.
that is absolutely killed the momentum Kreider has had in this one. Because once they come back down to the pits, he's going to be around where Charlie McCarron was on track, which I believe was bottom half top 10, if not top bit of the outside top 10, like around 11, 12, as we see a lot of cars in the pits here.
They're packing it
This is
full
good.
of fuel to make sure that they can make it to the end. And Tim Berry just beat everybody out of the pits. He is going to leapfrog all of them. Vinny Scholl's trying to catch him on the warm-up lane, but Tim Berry with an excellent pit stop in that 11 car. And we'll see where he cycles out compared to the 79. The 79's all by himself, but he should get past the 11 for now.
McCarron stayed out an extra lap, so does the 45 and the 8. 92.52, I believe, also stayed out.
Yep, there you see McCarron leaving the pits right now with the 70, 8, and 19. JT Boyd, also part of this group. Your pick to win, Kate Summers, also in here. But Tim Berry has gotten past the 79 and is now probably going to cycle out as the leader here. And this is not a car that you want in the lead of the race because he could easily pull away from these guys, even with the draft.
You know, I said that McCarron would probably fall to around 11 or 12, but no, they're up here right in the top 5, it seems. Right behind the 60. And look at Ellie Adams up here in the 5 car.
She won the first ever amateur race, and that was at Atlanta. She passed her teammate Stephen Jones on the last lap, so she knows how to run well here at this track. The question was really if the car was going to be underneath her, but right now she's up in the top 10. Jake Sidney has snuck his way up in the top 10 as well. That pit cycle really shook up the field as the 81 of Jack Gino, one of the faster cars from the first run, is now mired back in traffic. And you could say the same about the 45 of James Harvin and the 01 of Isabella Fitzmaurice. All lost a ton of positions in the pits. George Bryan is back here. Lakin Herndon is back here. Holly Martin is off the pace. So a lot of shaking up going on in the field, but the 79 and 16 are still up here, and these two were the fastest in the first run. We'll see if they have anything for Tim Berry here, and just as I say that, Kobe Hollenbeck's going to get past him off of 4.
Yeah, I think these two just want to fight it between themselves. I don't think they want Tim Berry, especially of all people, fighting for this win. Hollenbeck in the lead, taps up to second, Berry third, then Scholes and McCarron 4 and 5. Very interesting top 10 now, especially when you see like the 70 down in P7, the 5 in P8, as they're actually side by side for 7th place, I believe, and Ellie Adams will move in the 7th.
Here comes the 16 to the inside. You mentioned that you don't want to be seeing the 11 up here. I think Corbin Taps actually doesn't mind the 11 being up there because that's his teammate. And if Taps needs a push, then he can rely on Tim Berry to try and give him one. But that's not what Tim Berry's doing right now. He's actually helping the Toyota up on the top side. He just sees there's more momentum up there still. And the 79 will get back past the 16. Lulu Connie is off the pace. I wonder if these guys are going to end up catching her before this race is over. Taps on the inside, trying to fight back. And once again, these two, 1-2, they have been very entertaining all race. The 85 and 62 have caught up to these two, so now it's a 5-car battle for the lead up at the front.
Might become 6. Ashley Blake is not that far back from the top 5 here, and then even then, you got the 7, 8, 9 brigade. Adams, Kreider, and Sydney, they're lined up right behind them. And they are definitely gaining as long as they're single file. Back up at the front, here comes Taps back down the inside, and now Corbin Taps will get fully clear on the 79 of Colby Hollenbeck. Now here comes the 85 of Charlie McCarron, a big run for the 85 car, as McCarron tries to take second place here through turn 2.
McCarron has no friends up here. There's no other Hondas within, I don't know, it's a ways back to the next Honda. Wow, a long ways back to Darren Walker in 16th, so she's going to have to do this on her own. If you remember last year, McCarran was up here fighting for the win, and she had Darren Walker to try and help her. Didn't end up getting the win there, but here comes those two drivers I mentioned that have been in every race and haven't won. I think they're working together right now. They work together to catch up to these guys, and now they're nose to tail in second and third, trying to catch up to Taps, but that was a huge run by Corbin Taps on the outside, and he is well clear of them. But you don't want to get out too far here at Atlanta because you know that those cars can get a run on you when they have the draft and you don't.
Yeah, it's like we mentioned earlier, it's very similar to a Daytona Talladega. When a big lead, it is very difficult to keep it, and once you have it, you're about to lose it. Here comes Charlie McCarran for the lead. Number 85 car, as we mentioned many times today, never won in the Lumen Stock Car Invitational Series. Neither has Vinny Scholes. You almost have to wonder if those who've been working together because they realize the fact they've never won, so they're thinking, hey, let's work together, go 1 and 2, and we'll fight for this win at the very end of it together.
And you know, the fact that there's what? Oh my goodness, they're 3 wide. Where did Zach Dearman come from? He is now part of this pack. He's helping his teammate Jake Sidney, who, you know, he's top 10 in his first start of his rookie campaign. That's an impressive run for him. JB Chanot, who almost missed the race, was in the back the entire day, and now she's up here. These other packs are actually catching this lead pack right here. Well, I don't think that's a lead pack anymore because these three, the 85, the 16, and 62, have actually broken away from them considerably. And McCarran has now taken the lead for, I believe, the first time today.
I believe so. As you can see the gap, it's 1.2 seconds with Ellie Adams leading it in 4th place. As long as they're fighting in that second pack, I don't think they're able to catch these guys. Like, it's just so much of a difference. You need to get within a second. You need to try and get the draft off of the back cars in this group, because if you can, you're going to have a massive speed increase. And you've almost got to wonder if that's their goal. They're not aiming to really push as hard as possible. They're pushing to just barely get the draft off of these guys, to just barely get the ability to catch up and maybe even come through and take the lead here once it gets down to 55, lap 60.
I think 5 and the 11 have the right idea right here. They're lined up nose to tail for the lead. Charlie McCarran again gets by the 16. She's able to roll the bottom off of turns 3 and 4 really well, but Corbin Taps, I think, has her beat on the top side in 1 and 2. It's been a very interesting dynamic. It's similar to what happened between the 16 and 79 throughout most of the race, but now McCarran is utilizing it. Vinny Scholes hanging back in 3rd. Ellie Adams trying to get the draft off of her in 4th and 5th. Zach Dearman has flown up to 6th. JB Chanot has flown up to 7th. These two have come out of nowhere. Look for them to make some noise here late in the going. Look at Dearman trying to break into the top 5. He's just going to get to the inside of the 11 and the 5, and he is much faster than they are. I wonder if there's a difference in tires there that is contributing to that.
See, I was also going to say it could be the slipstream he got off of the 11, because that slipstream is so much more potent when you're farther back than when you're right nose to tail. That's why I've been saying, like, you need to get just a little bit of the draft off the 62 or whoever's in the back of that lead pack to try and close in, as now it's Zach Dearman up to 4th place in the 18 car. Oh, don't wreck.
These two are flying. The 18 and 29, they have immediately caught up to the 62 while they're battling for the lead up there, the 16 and 85. And here comes JB Chanot down on the inside lane. Started in 29th. She's going to try and get her way up towards the lead in the top 5 right now. Big run up top for the 85 of McCarran. That'll clear her of the 16 of Taps. Vinny Scholes trying to get a push from Zach Dearman off of 3 and 4. But Chanot is going to have the bigger push on the inside to the 16 of Corbin Taps. And now they're stacking up back for 4th. Ellie Adams trying to pull off an incredible top 5 here for the Action Racing number 5. And now Chanot going to the inside for 2nd on the 16 of Taps.
Unbelievable pace from the 29 and the 18 right now, but now that they've caught up, now that they don't have a massive draft in front of them, could that maybe cause a bit of a stall in the 29 and the 18? We'll find out. Here comes Chanot. Here comes Taps. Taps going to look for the lead on McCarran as we start 13 to go.
Dearman with a huge run through 1 and 2. He's going to catch up to the 29. McCarran is now gone on the outside lane. The 16 and 29 just did not get that run that they wanted off the corner. Now the 18 and 62 are right behind them. Dearman trying to make a late race charge, just like JB Chanot. But that 85 is starting to gap the 16 a little bit. Taps needs to get in that draft and try and catch up. But Zach Dearman's now up to third, challenging for second in the 18 car. He is rolling that inside better than anyone else is here up at the front. We'll see if he can keep that going.
I'm almost wondering at this point is if the 18 is just better without the draft. Because that car is absolutely flying by itself. As now we see the lap car of Lulu Connie coming into the mix here of nearly 11 laps to go. And you also see the 6 of Holly Martin. This could become a major problem for these leaders here at the very end.
Here comes Dearman. He's got the run down the front stretch, and he's got the run through 1 and 2. Zach Dearman trying to take the lead for the first time today. And it looks like McCarran will have the run on the outside. She's going to fight back, but the 29 is behind that 18. These are the two that have been just picking them up and putting them down as they've shot through the top 10. And Dearman is going to take the lead, but for how long? Because here comes the 29 of JB Chanot. Hasn't won since Season 2 in the Lumen 500. Trying to break that winless drought here for Columbia Motorsports. And she's going to take the lead away from the 18, and I think these guys are going to get a draft off the 2 lap cars who are side by side right now battling for last place.
Imagine telling someone like 50 laps ago that, oh yeah, the top 2 with 10 to go would be Chanot and Dearman. I think they called you crazy, but that's the reality here in Atlanta, coming up on 9 to go as they try and pass the lap car. Chanot is ahead of Martin, now side by side with Connie. Dearman's on the inside of Martin, trying to get past Holly Martin, and there goes Dearman. And now, you gotta wonder, these two are gonna pull away. I feel like that's inevitable. But with so little laps to go, can Zach Dearman get a run on the 29 to take the win?
You saw the 29, or you saw the 18 rather, get a huge run. Oh, that was close there between the 6 and the 85. Having trouble getting by the lap cars, but I was gonna say, you saw Dearman get another one of those huge runs through 1 and 2, but ended up getting blocked by JB Chanot. He's going to try it again this time, running a little higher, though, than he was before. Dearman's been working the bottom better than anyone else has, so I think if he's going to win the race, I think it's going to be because of that. But these two are pulling away from the 85 and 16. Do you think the 85 and 16, if they can get past these lap cars, can maybe link up and try and catch back up to them? Especially if the draft becomes less strong between these two, as the 29's trying to pull away from the 18.
I think the 29 and 18 are so strong outside of the draft, I don't think it'll matter. The gap is already over a second between Dearman and McCarran. I just don't see it being a possibility where they can catch up. I could be proven wrong. I've been proven wrong many a times in my times commentating races, but I just can't see it, to be honest with you.
We're going to be coming up on 6 laps to go here at Atlanta. JB Chanot in the 25 looking for her second win in LSCI. Zach Dearman's looking for his third. The 29 is pulling away from the 18.
They gained 0.6 of a second last time by.
They are absolutely flying ahead of Charlie McCarran. These lap cars have really killed the momentum for these guys. Ellie Adams still trying to fight for a top 5 here, and I just want to shout out Hudson Motorsports. Jake Sidney in 8th. Of course, you got Zach Dearman up in 2nd. Jack Geno's in 11th. Great day for that team, as all 3 of their cars are inside the top dozen right now. Dearman closed in that last lap on the 29. We'll see if that 18 has enough left to possibly challenge JB Chanot for this lead in the final 5 laps.
Gap went up another half a second to Charlie McCarran, so McCarran is done. The battle for the win is purely between JB Chanot and Zach Dearman. We're coming up on 4 laps to go, and honestly, at this point, I just don't think Zach Dearman can get a big enough run to get past the 29 of Chanot.
Chanot had a faster lap time that last time. Dearman is now going up to the top, trying to get some momentum up there, despite the fact that he's been doing very well on the bottom, but the bottom does use up a little bit more tires. That was a good run there by Dearman. He's gotten closer. I think he is going to have a shot at this before this is all said and done. He is rapidly closing on the 29 now that he's trying to run the same line as her. The 29 got a little bit of a better run off of 4, though, and I think that's where, if Dearman doesn't get an opportunity, I think that's going to be the reason why, is because the 29 is able to get a better run off of the corner.
3 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Zach Dearman is trying his best to try and close in on that 29 of JB Chanel, but again, it's like that 29 is so strong out front. Will come through 3 and 4 this time by. Dearman is getting closer. We'll see the gap when they cross the line. Chanel still leads it. Dearman second. The gap now 0.2 of a second. It is shrinking. 2 laps to go. Can Dearman get there in time?
We saw at South Boston last year, Dearman was able to make the pass within the final 3 laps over Darren Walker to get that win. But looks like that 29 is starting to pull back ahead of the 18, and they have cleared the pack mightily. They are not even in the same zip code anymore. These guys are racing their own race now. But coming to the white flag, 1 lap to go for JB Chanel in the number 29, who's had to pass most of the field to get to this situation. I think Dearman might be a little bit too far back to try something, but Dearman's getting a good run off of turn number 2. We'll see if he can try something in 3 and 4.
Down the back for the final time. Here they come. Dearman is there. He might look to make a move. He's only got 1 chance left to try and take this win.
Here we go. He's got the momentum. Side by side, coming to the finish line. It's going to be Dearman on the last corner. He's going to win by 0.5 of a tenth over JB Chanel. What a move by Zach Dearman. He waited until the last second, but he got it done.
In the words of the great Larry McReynolds, he timed it perfectly.
Absolutely. What a finish here in Atlanta. I did not expect that to happen. I just thought JV Chanel was going to pull away there after seeing him struggle, but I'm wondering if he was laying back on purpose to just get that timing right off of 3 and 4. And we've got a last lap pass here at Atlanta, the second closest finish in LSCI Cup Series history as well. What a way to start the season.
Oh man. Never a dull moment here in the Lumen Stock Car Invitational. And look at the gap to third place Charlie McCarron, by the way. 6 seconds! These two pulled away by 6 seconds over 10 laps.
They absolutely put a clinic on the field there at the end, and that's impressive that they were able to break the draft and just pull away by themselves to the point where they could just settle it between the two. And that's what we saw at other points of this race where we had 2 cars that were stronger than the rest of the field. We had the 16 and the 79 battling each other for a lot of that first run, but they weren't able to do that. But I think what it came down to is the 18 and the 29 were very good in clean air, and that's still important at this track, despite the fact that the draft is very powerful. But also, I feel like maybe they didn't use up their tires as much as the rest, because tires are also still a concern at this track. They had a second of fall off at the end of the run. I don't think I showed it, but that they do have about a second of tire fall off at this racetrack. So I think that's just a combination of the cars being very well set up and the drivers running a very good race here today. And it got to that point where nobody else was even within the same zip code as them, so they could just fight it out amongst themselves, and they did not disappoint with their battle, that's for sure. Zach Dearman gets the win for Hudson Motorsports. JB Chanel finishes second. You gotta feel for JB Chanel. It's been a while since she's had really anything good happen. She had a rough ending of last year, started DNQing races by the end of it, almost DNQ'd this race, barely squeaked in, and she was 1 corner away from winning the race. But you know what? If you're Chanel, I think you take the second place anyway. It's something to look on. She's known for having good, strong starts to the season. She could be off to another one here soon. Charlie McCarron, 3rd place. She's going to have to wait another race for her first career win. Corbin Taps, Tim Berry, the McPicky Motorsports teammates look like they have very strong cars today. They get top 5s. Taps was probably the fastest car in that first run. Just did not make enough adjustments to counter for the second run. Andrew Kreider, Ellie Adams, great runs for both cars. Ellie Adams especially. Kreider was really fast in the first run, and he was able to keep that track position despite the near miscue on the entry of the pit lane. Vinny Scholes fell back to 8th. Jake Sidney, Jack Gino, so all 3 Hudson Motorsports cars finished in the top 10. Then you see Kobe Hollenbeck, Adrian Fearson, drivers that were running up towards the front that fell outside the top 10. Mercedes Washington, we pointed out that she fell to the back after her top 10 start, but she still rebounded to finish 15th. So a solid drive from Mercedes Washington there. Kevin DuPont, your defending champion, was in the back all day, still managed to get 16th. And then you see some of these guys that were running up towards the front at some point. Ashley Blake, Darren Walker, Isabella Fitzmaurice did not get great runs. George Bryan, James Harvin, they just did not have it there in the second half of the race. But that was an excellent race here at Atlanta. Definitely a lot more entertaining than it was last year, where the tires just kind of stalled out at the end of the race and no one could make a move. But it was very different this year. I'd say those changes to the track and package definitely worked out. What do you think, Darian?
I think that was the changes they made have absolutely perfected the racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, I believe. I mean, unbelievable stuff. It wasn't too draft-light, as you saw at the end with Dearman and Chanot being able to basically just go into outer space with how fast their cars were here at the end. And I mean, I was thinking to myself while you were talking about the finishing results, I almost wonder if Dearman was holding back on purpose, not just to lay back and save his stuff, but to lure JB Chanot into a false sense of security that, oh, he can't catch up to me. I can take it easy on the final lap here. And then Dearman just pulls that off. Unbelievable stuff here at Atlanta.
Yeah, that could have been some mind games there. It could have also been just a matter of timing that move to where Chanot wouldn't have enough time to counter it. That's another way of doing that so late. Kevin Harvick did that at Talladega. That was the call that you were mentioning before when Larry McReynolds mentioned he timed it perfect. It was that race when Kevin Harvick did that move on Jamie McMurray back in 2010 at Talladega. And it was a very similar move here by Dearman, and he ended up getting the win here today. That's his third LSCI win. Hudson Motorsports starts the year off right. This is actually their second win in a row because they won the season finale last year with Jake Sidney. So Hudson Motorsports has proven that they're a bit of a newer team compared to some of the other ones in here, but they have proven that they're here to stay and that they are contenders. They had a great race here today with all three of their cars in the top 10. But that was exciting. That even surpassed my expectations, honestly. But congratulations to Zach Dearman and Hudson Motorsports on the win. An excellent race all around here at Atlanta. And next week we're going to be going to from the high banks of Atlanta to the short track in Rockingham, North Carolina. That's going to be our second race of the season, and that one's going to be a different kind of chaotic. Darian, what are you expecting for that race?
Rockingham is such an interesting track when it comes to everything, because if you even mess up a tiny bit through turns 1 and 2, you're in the outside wall, you're probably careening down the track and causing yourself a 10-car pileup. However, it could also be a factor of maybe tire wear. Could be a massive factor. I believe we've seen massive fall-offs at Rockingham in the past. So it's going to be very interesting. I don't know if I'd expect as close a finish as we saw here today at Atlanta, but I would definitely expect some very interesting racing at Rockingham next week.
Absolutely. Rockingham was an interesting race last year. I'm expecting more of the same this year. Well, that's going to do it here for today's broadcast. One more congratulations to Zach Dearman and Hudson Motorsports on the win. An excellent drive by them. And on behalf of Darian and myself, this is Brennan Wilmington signing out. Here are your points after the first race of the season, which you'll be seeing on screen here right now.